no one is looking out for me more than my mom. No one wants what's best for me more than my mom and my husband. But like, you know what I mean? And Lana. What's up, you guys? Super excited to have my mom here today. There is so much to discuss. Mom, I feel like you've had a huge impact and you've been a great financial ally to me and my finances. So I figured today we'd talk about what it was like growing up for my mom and kind of the financial struggles that she went through and all the things she's taught me about finances. So Mom, we grew up in the hood. We grew up brokety broke. But like you've always said, it's so important that the next generations get better and better and better. And I have to say, you raised us with more than what Tita raised you with. So Mom, what was it like for you growing up? I know Tita went through some really hard times financially. So what was that like for you?
She did. She came here in the early 1950s, and
From Puerto Rico, from Ay Bonito, Puerto Rico.
Yes, and she came to work in a factory.
What kind of factory?
She was ironing, so I guess it was like a garment, clothing, yeah. And so she used to iron, and then she got pregnant with me, and that was it. It was a wrap. She stopped working. She was a single mom with 4 children, and at the time that I was born, then she went on public assistance. And it's something that at that time was, and even today it might be—
There's such a stigma.
It is an embarrassment.
And looked down upon.
Yeah, but she made things happen, and we never went without food. We never went without clothing.
I remember going with Tita. You know the line where you get the cheese from, and you get the cereals, and they come in like the no-frills boxes. And we lived in the Vladeck houses in the Lower East Side. And it's so crazy that like, while there is this super whack stigma that like everybody on public assistance is just taking advantage of, you know, the system, there actually are people that really do need that help to get a footing. And from there, they actually do end up having like success.
Yeah, even
financial success. You can have financial success after having public assistance.
She would budget so well that we always had extra food for other people to come and eat. Also, one of the things that I remember so much that I learned from her, not only her budgeting, but she would look for places to go and find. I remember there was a place on Rivington and Orchard Street in the Lower East Side. And this man used to have boxes and boxes of shoes, but none of them were matched together. They weren't put together.
You've told me this story.
Yes, but they were good shoes.
They were very good shoes.
So we would go there, and we were small people. We could really fit inside these boxes. This is how
they
big
went swimming in the boxes.
But we would find a match.
Yeah.
The right size and the color. And so, but that's how she would dress us.
I think it's pretty awesome that although my grandmother didn't have much, there were certain things that were really important to her. The main thing that I remember her teaching me, I know that she definitely taught this to you as well, and it was, even if you don't have much, that you should take really good care of the things that you have. And that you should always look presentable, you should always look clean, neat, you know, like you care about what you look like. So my mom jokes around that, like, you know, she would have you guys diving in boxes to get matching shoes, but those were good shoes. You'd take good care of those shoes. You'd keep those shoes clean. Say like she wasn't gonna look tirao. Like just like a mess. It was very important to her that she looked well put together, that she looked respectable. And I think a lot of people who struggle financially still feel that way, that it's important for them to have a sense of pride. It's important for them to still, you know, have their self-respect no matter what you're going through, no matter what your finances are. And I know that can be a struggle for so many people, but in my grandmother's case, if there was a shirt that was missing one button and she couldn't find the exact perfect match, she would take all the buttons off
and get all new ones.
And spend that extra time getting all new ones and sewing them on perfectly so that she would
It would look good.
Look good.
Yeah. She always said that when people met you, that was the first impression they were going to get of you.
Important.
What you look like.
Yeah.
Before they even heard you speak, before they knew who you were. So to her, appearance was very, very important. One of the things that she also taught me, although she was on public assistance and we were, we didn't have, she would go to the wholesale place on Orchard Street and buy underwear and things and sell them to people in the community. For
She was a hustler.
My
grandmother was the original entrepreneur of our family.
Yes, she
because buying underclothes wholesale and then going door to door in the project and selling them. Stockings. That's what she was doing. She was a businesswoman. And I think that that's so incredible. But Mom, you always said that Tita would tell you, yes, we're on public assistance.
But this is not where you stay.
Yes, we live in the project,
on.
but this is not where you stay. That this was just the stepping stone to get their footing. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud that what it was intended for actually worked out really well for our family.
It was important to her for us to know how to budget. It was important for her to have life insurance. These were little things that she taught us that continued with me, and then I try to pass it on to you guys.
For sure.
Yeah.
We had piggy banks from as young as I can remember. I remember saving money. I remember for so many birthdays, my tita would put money in our cards. Like we'd get $5, $20, and we would save that money up for a special occasion.
Exactly.
And I even remember my mom budgeting how she was gonna do our back to school shopping.
Absolutely.
And we had a very specific amount that Mom would give us. We had to map out, I will never forget this, we had Sears catalogs. And we'd go through the catalogs and have to pick exactly what we wanted. Then we'd have to add up how much did everything we pick cost and had we gone over the budget that we were given. So that was our first introduction to learning how to budget our money and make sure that we could get everything we wanted within that number.
Yes, and then you went off.
And life happened.
Everything we taught you
went down the drain.
Yes. And my language, my first language was Spanish. So my mom didn't speak any English at all. And yet through her struggles, she made herself understood. And I remember her telling me that when she would work in the factories and she had to get lunch, she would point to things, to the same thing. She ate the same thing every day because that was the only thing she could, point or was visible that, that she could, because she couldn't explain to them or tell them what she wanted.
But you make it happen. I think that the women in my family are so resilient, and it was like, hey, even though I don't speak the language and I'm struggling, I'm still going to persevere.
And it was so important for her children to succeed. That was her main focus.
It's also super important that you take care of your financial health.
Exactly.
Because ultimately one will affect the other.
Yes.
When I tell you this, knowing how much money you have in the bank, knowing how to budget, like we spoke about earlier.
Very important, very
super important. And we always talk about also knowing what your overhead is and how you can cut costs to have a better financial situation. Do you have a safety net account, which is every time you get a check, let's say you get a check for $120, right? You take 10% of that. You can either put $20 away from every time you get a check, or 10%, which would be $12 of 120 bucks. Put away $12 for every time you get that check. At some point, that is actually going to multiply and be something substantial that can possibly help you out in a pinch.
And a lot of people will say to you, but I can't. Yes, you can, because if you can go out and eat at a restaurant and spend whatever money there, you can say to yourself, what is more important? Can I cook a meal at home and take that money that I would have spent in a restaurant and put it away so that I would have something for the future, whether for your children.
Stay focused on your long-term goals. I think that's the key, is if you can stay super focused on your long-term goals, that'll be so helpful to help you get there, because I feel like if you just could really buckle down and be like, okay, in this season, I'm gonna do what I have to do so that I can get to do what I want to do.
And the thing is that it's very difficult in the beginning,
Oh my
but
gosh,
then it
so
becomes kind of like you get used to it, and then it's all right. You're able to do it. I mean, I used to do it a lot to go on vacation. I would.
So vacation was super important to me, and although we didn't have a lot of money, my mom prioritized the fact that at least once a year, as a family, we would go on a vacation. Now you gotta imagine, people was poor, but at the same time, she's like, but we still gonna figure out a vacation. How did you make that happen?
Again, it's about budgeting and taking. So if I had $20 that I could put away from my paycheck, I would say, okay, so I am going to take $10 from that money and put it for a little vacation fund, and take the other 10 to just leave there. And that's how I would do it.
While you're hearing my mom talk about us going on vacations, I also think it's super important to know that they were not necessarily the most glamorous vacations, but crazy enough for us as children, we thought they were the greatest time of our lives, and they gave us the best memories ever. And up to just recently, Claude and I were watching, we would drive to Virginia Beach every summer, and we would stay at this amazing hotel with this pool and everything. And Claude and I have the best memories of these childhood vacations, and we're like, oh my God, we love Virginia Beach, the boardwalk, the taffy, the saltwater taffy that we would get. We would go to these like buffets with crab legs, and I remember having like these huge floats and being in the pool. And the hotel room that we would stay in had it was like a small apartment with its own kitchen and a microwave. Kitchenette. Mom could cook for us. One day we're like, oh my God, let's watch the videos of our, childhood vacations that we're so fond of. And as we're watching the video, in my mind, you could not tell me that we were not at the Four Seasons. You could not tell me we were not at the Ritz-Carlton. And we looked closely, the pool
was in the parking lot.
Surrounded by cars. And we were staying at the Flagship Motel. Yep. It was a motel. And I actually really, if I'm being honest, I was kind of in shock when I saw the video. I was like, wait a second. Mom, we were in a motel?
Yep.
And I've got to say that I honor you for that. I'm so grateful that I had a mom that budgeted to give us, even if it was a motel, but it was something that we had the best memories from, and we didn't know the difference. We just knew we were having
a good time,
the best times.
And it's about, you can have fun if you save. It doesn't have to be that you have to save thousands of dollars. With a couple of $100, you can do it.
She saved a couple of $100 to take us on a family vacation. So I am forever grateful for those memories.
Yes.
One of the things that my mom taught me when I was younger was two things. The main one was, as a woman, how important it was to be financially independent.
Yes.
And that is my favorite thing that you've taught me, to be a strong woman, to be a hardworking woman. I absolutely get my work ethic from my mom, who I brag about the fact that, Mom, you had a job that you had to be at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you would arrive there no later than 7 or 8. 2 hours before she ever had to be there, because Mom would knock out her work before anyone else arrived. And I always thought that that was so cool, that she always went the extra mile for her job. And I think I just have always been inspired by that. So work ethic, incredible. As a woman, to be financially independent, to be hardworking and have your own money.
Yes, it's
that
very
you
important.
never have to depend on a man or anyone to support you or provide for you. That has been one of the greatest lessons you've taught me in my life. And that is part of the fabric of who I am.
Yes,
and I love that. I'm grateful for that, because that really set me up to have the confidence to know that I absolutely can do that, that there isn't anything that I can't work for. If there's something I want, I can get it for myself.
Yes.
I think it's so crazy how full circle we've come, that my mom is the one who actually is the eyeballs on all of my accounts. She's the one that watches what comes in, what comes out. She gives me a heads up if she sees that I'm spending too much. Let's put it this way. There are times when I spend money and Mom goes, what was this for? But if I'm honest, I needed a financial ally. I recognize that maybe I didn't have the discipline that I needed to have to spend correctly. Maybe I didn't have the time or the bandwidth or the mind space to sit and look at all my finances. Mom, what would you say is like one financial mistake that you made in your life, and how would you do it differently now that you know better?
Wow, I think that probably not investing more. I think that I started to invest at a later time in my life.
Yeah.
I think I would have done it so much more earlier in my life. Even if it's just a little something, I would have invested.
I have friends that invest $5, $10 in things, little by little, like very little investing, and they've got their portfolios together.
Because by the time you retire, there's that little
something there, a little surprise for you.
Yes.
I hope you guys enjoyed this little convo with my mom and I hope you've learned something today.
Yes.
I hope that you are now looking out for who can be your financial ally in your life, who will encourage you and inspire you to take hold of your finances today. Mwah. Don't forget to subscribe.